Hello and welcome to the Brooklyn Rail's 1149th New Social Environment.
Holy
I'm
sh-
Magdalene, a program associate here at the Rail, and I have the pleasure and privilege of being your MC today for a conversation featuring Jeanne Greenberg Rohatyn and Phyllis Tuchman. And now I'll introduce today's guest and host. Jeanne Greenberg Rohatyn is a pioneer and gallerist, art advisor, and curator who founded Salon 94, a dynamic and influential gallery. Since 2002, she has expanded from her original 94th Street home gallery to multiple locations, including the present 17,500 square foot headquarters near the Guggenheim Museum in 2021 to a well-tread public venue that boasts over 2,000 visitors a week. Known for championing artists who challenge conventions, she has elevated and mainstreamed diverse creators such as Marilyn Minter, Judy Chicago, Karon Davis, Magdalene Odundo. Greenberg Rohatyn has redefined boundaries between art and design and introduced Salon 94 design in 2017, showcasing radical designers and object makers. As a board member of the White Columns, Performa, and the Art Dealers Association of America, she continues to shape the direction of contemporary art and how it is experienced in the world today. And our host today is critic and art historian Phyllis Tuchman. She teaches and writes about art, particularly sculpture. She's taught at Williams College, Hunter College, and the School of Visual Arts. And we are very lucky to have Phyllis as an editor at large for the Brooklyn Rail. And with that, I will pass it on to Phyllis to kick us off.
Okay, so I said right away, um, I have purchased photographs from Jeannie. I put my mouth where my money is.
Yes, you
And
have. Thank
and,
you. Thank you for your patronage.
and I was very, very happy.
Thank you. Yep.
She did some brilliant photography shows early on, that on 57th Street and Fifth Avenue that
Yep.
were absolutely astonishing.
Well, the 1999 Another Girl, Another Planet show was a kind of seminal show for introducing narrative female photography. And I had gone up to visit Gregory Crutzen's classroom, and really noted that so many of his students had brought back into their photographs the figure and narrative. And so we kind of developed right there on the spot this exhibition that we put up only a few months later. It was very exciting at the time.
Oh my God. And over Andy Warhol's shoulder are these boxes with printed images. I always wanted to own them.
Oh, it's such a great, that was a great addition. So, and to the left, of course, is my dad, and who is still an art dealer in St. Louis, Missouri, and thought we would start with this photograph of my father and Andy Warhol in their home in St. Louis.
Absolutely. He was a brilliant art dealer,
He
and
really was. Yeah.
he recognized Ellsworth Kelly immediately.
Yes, he did. He loved Ellsworth Kelly. Well, he loved all the minimalists. So, in fact, he showed Andy several times in St. Louis, and Andy actually used to stay at our house. Our house was really the site of so many artists who stayed and had a dialogue with my parents and with us, and we really had a house that would kind of move into the gallery and the house, and it was all very fluid. And so I grew up with these artists, a part of my inner life.
Oh my God, you were so lucky. And
Yes.
And you mentioned at a certain point that you loved ceramics and you would buy your dad's ceramics.
Yes, well, my father really didn't love ceramics himself. He was really part of the 70s minimalist uh, school where you did not have ornamentation, you were very strict. And so, ceramics at that point were considered objects and kind of decorative objects and craft, really. And he had a wonderful director of his gallery, Sissy Thomas, who loved ceramics. And every December, he would give her the gallery to curate one of these ceramic shows. And that was a really big deal because she could really flex her own muscles and show the ceramicists of the time, from Betty Woodman, Peter Voulkos. My father actually fell in love with Ken Price, brought him home. My first work of art that I ever bought was a Richard DeVore ceramic that looked like an eggshell, so beautiful. And I brought that home. That still is in my parents' home. And so that it was wonderful to kind of start an early collection based kind of against what my father was bringing home, and then kind of adding it into his home. So it was really fun.
It's so cool.
So the other thing that my father did is our home really did not have that much furniture because of these minimalist tenants, but he did collect or become the dealer for Diego Giacometti, and we called it kind of our garden furniture. But our house was filled with Giacometti, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later. But I have become very involved in the design world and kind of the design world into the art world, and all of it kind of bleeding into one another. And it might have started really with the fact that he showed Diego Giacometti. So I thought I'd put up this early catalog of his.
Oh my God. And what is that marble?
No, it's actually an ostrich egg.
It's a real egg?
Yes. Giacometti made these sculptures of eggs of the ostrich, and then you would put a real egg in the middle of it.
Oh my God.
It holds it. It's kind of like this wonderful holding of the egg. It's a beautiful sculpture, very classic.
Fabulous.
So
I was surprised at the San Francis.
Oh, really? Why? My father loved San Francis. He showed him in the 80s, and this was from one of his exhibitions. But this is a kind of rare look at his house, of my parents' home, and shows you a little bit of the mix with Giacometti. There's a Giacometti table there. It's a little frog table, and with the calder above, and this kind of wood paneling that they had. Keep going. So I just thought I would jump from his home to my home, which is something that is rarely seen right now because I'm no longer working out of it. But the two Giacometti chairs that I now have the privilege of living with are kind of is really come from his gallery.
And what's on the back wall?
That is a David Hammond's tarp painting, part of the Orange is the New Black series, and it's a fantastic painting.
I think you mentioned that you are a huge collector of David Hammond's.
I'm not only a huge collector, but I'm also have been a dealer of David's. I consider myself kind of a expert on David's work because very early on in my career, I put him in an exhibition called American Art in the 20th Century in London at the Royal Academy and the Martin Gropius Bau in Berlin with Norman Rosenthal and Christos Iachimides. And I was kind of responsible for David's inclusion in that show, because at that time I was a student at the Art Institute. And when they hired me, I basically said, well, I'll work for you. I'll help you as an assistant on this exhibition, finding works in America. But I really insist that you put into your exhibition some Black artists and some female artists. And so we kind of went back and forth and debated a lot. But David was somebody who I felt was so important for this exhibition and defining American art, and it worked. So in fact, you can see as well. There's a rock head. There's a rock covered with hair that's kind of in front of the Magdalene Odundo, the orange one. And that's one of the first works of David's that I brought home.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite objects.
Oh my God, that's fabulous. And the next?
So this is just the other side of the same room. This room, my living room is really my kind of a think tank and an experimental space. It's completely uncurated. It's really objects that I'm looking at, that I'm thinking about, paintings that I'm thinking about, or that are giving me trouble. And so it's a room that is kind of the interior of my brain manifested, in real life. And for the most part, it really, whatever you put in there that's great sticks. And then things that don't hold up, the weaker things, they just don't hold up to some of the other masterpieces. So, wow. And I will say, as an art dealer, every work that has been brought home has a story, and not easy to get. For that one David Hammond's tart painting, I definitely had to sell 10 other paintings in order to kind of scrape and be able to hold on to that painting. It's these are beloved objects, and so I feel really privileged to have them.
Wow. And you. Oh.
And there's my parents' house, actually recently, with their dog, of course, Thibaut. And so it's just gives you a sense that there's, it was a house really that was lived in for the art versus the furniture or anything else. It's really a house about the art in St. Louis. And this is a photo that I took when visiting Roy Lichtenstein's studio in the Hamptons, when I was visiting Dorothy and Roy with my father. And the reason why it's there is that it has this wonderful poster. Roy took all the posters from the different gallery shows and put them up on the barn. And on the left, there's the grapefruit and bananas. On the far left, that's a poster from my father's gallery. He always made posters, and so that's one of them. And then the other one is in the front as well. So there are two Greenberg Gallery posters that are still there in the barn.
Fabulous. I love the hand pointing.
Yeah, it's at the Museum of Modern Art. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And there is my dad with that the painting from the poster in his office. probably, this is probably taken around 75, 74 or 75.
Did he keep many of the paintings?
He kept, he did not keep that many, but he kept enough. You know, he kept maybe three paintings. You know, you're very lucky as a dealer, at least at that point, to be able to bring home a work from your exhibitions. And in fact, that's probably why he became a dealer in the first place, was because it allowed him to bring home a piece. Today, we can't do that as much because really our requirements for selling a show is placing the works with institutions and foundations and collectors. So oftentimes we don't get to bring home the works from our exhibitions, but in those days you could.
And that's a great Ken Nolan.
Yes, that tart, yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And this is a picture of my father and my mom and Emmy Pulitzer, and we'll probably get to this is a picture taken in St. Louis. I think it was during the opening of the Glenn Ligon exhibition based on the Ellsworth Kelly Blue and Black painting that's owned at the Pulitzer Foundation.
Wow.
And then this is taken from the Whitney Museum. Actually, it says St. Louis Art Museum, but it was from the great exhibition that was there of Warhol. And my sister Jackie and my father are standing in front of the Mao wallpaper, and then we'll go to the next picture, or even next after that. This is the Warhol wallpaper that we grew up with, because when Warhol was doing an exhibition with my father, he sent my father a few rolls of the wallpaper and expected him to cover the whole gallery with it. And of course, my father did cover one wall with it, but then brought it home and put this in the guest bathroom downstairs. And of course, that's where Warhol hung out all night, but the wallpaper is still there. So
fabulous.
So,
we have been talking about Bathers with a Turtle by Matisse, which is one of the masterpieces of the St. Louis Art Museum. Yes. And it was purchased by Pulitzer.
Yeah. So, well, this painting. So I spent my childhood looking at this painting with my family, and this painting is a seminal painting for my own practice because it has so much in it. But in terms of its history, in terms of how it got to St. Louis. It was originally, first we'll just start. It was painted in between 1907 and 1908. It is a painting that Matisse painted right after he saw Picasso's Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. It is around the same size, the Picasso painting 8x8. This painting is 7x8. It's in direct reaction to seeing Picasso's painting, but as well absorbing things that Matisse was interested in. Matisse had already started his collection. He owned 20 some odd sculptures of African art. He had great pieces, I think, from Nok Dogon. So this is clearly a painting that was that showed that influence. I mean, you can see the outlines; they almost look like wood sculptures. He had visited Padua and seen the Giotto at the Arena Chapel. He had been looking at children's art. He had been looking at Cézanne. But for us, you know, that really, when we looked at this painting, it was always so curious. What's the girl doing feeding this turtle the piece of lettuce, and where is the woman sitting? Like she's sitting in nowhere. And, you know, why does this woman have some, you know, her hands in her mouth? And then just this contemporary 3 bands. And we showed earlier in my house, the Stanley Whitney. And I always think, because we work with Marina Adams, I always think about this painting had given me the eyes to understand Marina Adams paintings. With these kind of 3 minimal bands of color, and to appreciate color. So this painting is just endlessly kind of curious and fascinating to me. But more than that, as you said, Joe Pulitzer bought this painting in an auction because the Nazis sold this work of art. First, they brought it down in the 30s. It was hanging in a museum in Essen. And then they brought this painting down. They then put it on the auction block in the late 30s. It was like 38 or 39. And Joe really he bought a few paintings from that auction. It would have been destroyed, frankly. And it then came to St. Louis, and he loaned it to the museum, and then in 1964 gave it to the museum. And Joe Pulitzer and Emmy Pulitzer, of course, some of the great patrons of St. Louis, of the art museum and of the arts. And so we grew up kind of seeing their collection and really understanding what the power of great patronage. And so this painting kind of wraps it all together, and really is so essential in my own thinking. So thank you Phyllis is the one that brought up this painting, and you just wrote about it.
Yeah, I absolutely adore this painting.
Yeah,
and she stands up at, you know, she's a giant. She's a giant, like in the conversation.
Yeah, no, and I love they're totally self-absorbed, and the absorption. I mean, it's such a great painting, and it's really big. It's a very large painting. You're seeing it here small, but and it starts, of course, his Bather series, because Matisse did have other collectors who were obsessed with this painting and who wanted it. So he went on to make several of these Bather paintings. Of course, much more joyous than this particular painting.
It's so great.
It's so great.
Can we have? Oh yeah, Marilyn Minter.
Marilyn. So, you know, Marilyn, I have been working with for many years. Well, this is an installation from 2006. Before we showed her, this was actually my first gallery, was in my home. That's where the name comes from, Salon 94, because we live on 94th Street. And I created the first floor of the building to be the gallery. And so, of course, having titling it with Salon meant that there should be a dialogue, that you can sit, that it has a kind of up-leveled home environment to it. And so before we showed Marilyn, though, she showed at the Whitney Museum in the biennial, because that is one of the first things she said to me when I did a studio visit. She said, I want to be in the Whitney biennial. And she became the poster child for Chrissy Isles' Whitney biennial, which was great. Yeah. So this was our first exhibition. And this exhibition showed both photography and paintings together. And then in 2009, I moved out of 94th Street and moved into the alleyway on the Bowery. I always was very conscious that the spaces that I had somewhat of this element of you needed to take a pilgrimage to get there. They were never in the center of where the art world was. And in the case of Freeman Alley, I also loved the idea that that was right around the time that the new museum was starting to build there. And so it had kind of a walk near a museum. And then we opened up on the Bowery in 2011, and then this is Marilyn's exhibition with us that are based on the bathers. So it's great that we just looked at the Matisse, and of course she changes the bather from the bathtub to the shower. She made it a lot more contemporary, and these are the painting we're looking at is a bush painting. And it's one of my very favorite series of Marilyn's, and probably the one series that has been the least commercial of her works, but to me the most kind of art historically important. Wow. Marilyn has always taken things outside the gallery. She's, of course, an activist artist, and artists who want to kind of exist outside of the art world have always interested me. And so one of the first projects we did was with Creative Times. This is not showing it, but we did a big billboard at the same time as that she was in the Whitney Biennial. And she is still always going outside to kind of be in the public space doing her work.
You're incredibly supportive of her.
I am, because she is so inspiring every day to me. Our exhibition that we made on 89th Street, our most recent exhibition, she again, she doesn't believe in spending money on art advertisement as much as she does, let's say, a commercial on TV or a video or a billboard outside where you've got this rubbernecking. So we did this wheat pasting ad campaign for her that was all over the city.
Wow.
And then, of course, this wonderful painting of hers. And this painting was a really important painting. We don't talk about it that much, but for me, working with an artist as long, over the last 20 years, we talk about her market and the idea that that there's $1 million, $1 million painting, like that this painting has a value of $1 million. And I love the idea of working with an artist that you have certain, you have goals, all different kinds of goals. A New Yorker magazine article, a catalog written by Phyllis Tuchman, and then, $1 million painting. So this is our $1 million painting.
I love it.
Marilyn, as well, has started painting portraits. And this is, of course, a portrait of Mickalene Thomas, and with Mickalene in front of her portrait. And this idea that Marilyn has taken on portraiture to be a part of her practice, and to to really paint, important artists and as well writers, poets, activists, people within our contemporary life has been so important to Marilyn.
Jeannie, we should point out that this is a former museum, that you had a great architect transform into an exhibition space.
Mm-hmm. So yes, in 2018, I purchased the Academy of Architecture and Design, which was in pretty much total disrepair. The stone room, for example, had been painted entirely gray.
Oh no!
Yes, it was. It was terrible. All the walls were this thick with gray paint, and so a lot of the renovation was actually simply the removal of the many years of the layering that they had put onto the building. And so I worked with Raphael Vignoli, the late Raphael, who has actually built all of my galleries and my home with me over the years. And it was a very special working relationship with him. So.
Wow. I love that it's a former museum.
It is. They use it's a former museum and school, so they use part of this building as an exhibition space. But really, Phyllis, even more interesting than that is that it was originally built by an artist, a female artist, Elizabeth Hyatt Huntington, and she was a kind of 19th century or early 1900s sculptor, kind of academic sculptor. And she was very close with Ogden Codman, who was an architect and designer. And she and her, in Huntington, they fell in love. She moved into his house on Fifth Avenue. And then together they built this space, not to live in, but to be an exhibition space and to be her studio. And then when they left New York City to start their kind of traverse across America to build gardens, they gave it to the Academy where she had been a member.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, let me tell you, it definitely has this fantastic feeling inside. You feel that the history, her presence is definitely there.
Wow, too much. And I think we have a Huma Baba later on.
I think you can just keep rolling through.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, this is really fun. The video can. Yeah, I think we chose a few artists just to focus on. I don't know, can they get it up? Well, at any rate, this is one of Marilyn's subjects, Lizzo, and I was a kind of fly on the wall when Marilyn went to photograph Lizzo, and this is just, it's hard to see, but it was a video of the photo shoot, and just to see how Marilyn photographs her subject with this pane of glass.
Wow. Too much.
Yeah. And there's the photograph in our wood room. And the wood room is a design, in fact, that Raphael Vignoli and I kind of passed back and forth because I didn't want to cut down a tree. But I wanted to make a wood room because this was originally a wood room in the building. And so and I wanted to have a system where I could hang a painting easily just by screwing in into the walls without measuring. And so the system is on all of the corners of each of the triangles, there's a little place to put a nail in, or to screw a nail in to the wall. So it's very easy to hang anything in this room. And it's just a veneer, the two different veneers.
I love the chairs.
Oh, those are Max Lamb, leather Max Lamb, and that is the silver surfer chairs.
Wow.
Those are great. Yeah.
Wow.
It's basically the material that they make mirror from, and it's just a different way of using that material. Those shiny chairs.
Too much. Was Lizzo nice?
Wonderful, wonderful. She was wonderful and very open to Marilyn. She was very respectful of Marilyn in terms of having Marilyn really do what she wanted, because she respected Marilyn as an artist as well. And so it was a great collaboration. It really was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Too much.
I think I actually have, Marilyn has been painting a painting of Lizzo since then. Let's see, I think it's the next photo. Oh no, it was taken out. Forget it. So this is our first exhibition of Huma Baba in 2007 at 94th Street in my first gallery space. And it was one large scale work. She had not yet started the cork works, which she's so well known for. And I had bought a work of hers from the ATM gallery, and the owner, Bill, who is unfortunately no longer living, I called him up. I said, "Oh my God, you have this incredible artist. I'm living with this work, and it's so great." And he was so wonderful. He said, he taught me a lot, actually, just in this one very simple statement. He said, and I said, "I want to show her. I want to show Huma." And he said, "Well, just don't put me out of business." And it really made me think a lot about being an art dealer and my colleagues, and working with other dealers. And of course, as long as he wanted, he always had works of Huma's to sell and to work with. And we had a great relationship kind of throughout. He ended up actually moving to the Midwest, but it was great. So anyway, this was our first show together.
I love it.
And then at the same time, we had it she had an installation downtown on the Bowery at Freeman's. And then keep going. And then this was in 2010 on the Bowery.
And she carves this out of unusual material, right?
Yeah, I mean, she carved the piece on the right is one of the first cork pieces that she made. She had she lives up in Poughkeepsie, and there was a store that was selling that was going out of business that was very close by her studio, and she saw that they had all their display that was for sale, and she went in and she bought all the display, and it was when she unwrapped the paper, it was all cork, and so she started carving with the cork. And then the others, of course, is styrofoam, things that she found. They all, at this point, they all kind of look like architecture, lean-to architecture. She's from Pakistan, and you really see that influence in these works and other cultures.
I want one. I love the drawings.
Yeah. So we put up these drawings because people normally don't see them, but these are her drawings that she made for her big Met roof project, We Come in Peace. And she, she really thought about it as kind of a theatrical stage. And, she had gone up to the roof at the Met. Sheena Wagstaff and Shanae Javari invited her to do this project. And I think that they at first expected her to have her soldiers, her different personages. And then, of course, she came up with these two very iconic figures, one praying and the other like a superhero that had just landed on the roof of the Met. And these are the wonderful drawings that she made for it.
And she's not a large person. And
sure, no, but she's got a lot of muscle and a lot of vision. She sees both small and large. She sees, one of the great things about her sculptures is that you can have a very small sculpture and it feels like a giant. And then you can have a very giant sculpture and it feels very intimate. Her sense of scale is it comes from the desert. It comes from another place. She's very special on scale.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan.
Me too. Oh, actually, I think there it is.
It's so astonishing because when she adds the color, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, her sense of color is great, and the spraying of it and the immediacy of it. Yeah, she's went. This is a bronze piece as well. So, but the color came originally from blue styrofoam and pink styrofoam and the cork color, and then she started, using, as she used to call them, kind of her Basquiat color. To tag them, as it were.
Wow. And you get to live with this stuff.
Sometimes, yes.
That's what I find unbelievable with dealers, that you get to really know a work.
Yes, you do.
And the next? Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of prostrate figure, which you really start to think about this moment where you've got religious art and secular art, and where they meet up. This praying figure, so beautiful and humble. And originally this is a repeated sculpture for her, because it was originally made out in the desert with a trash bag, and she had made out of a self-drying clay the hands and the tail, and she brought it out into the desert and took photographs of it, and then she made a sculpture of it as well. And so this is it, kind of much larger. So this is an image that she worked on for many, many years.
It's wonderful.
It is.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the artists you show.
Well, I was very lucky to work with Huma for so many years, and now she works with David Sperner, and that's a really beautiful place for her to be as well now. So lots of collaboration over the years. And then this was her show at 2021. Actually, it's called Facing Giants, but you see the two little figures in the back. They were as if they were the guards of the whole show. They could have at any moment grown to an enormous size. And they were just small works, but they took up so much emotional space.
And if I remember correctly, you publish catalogs with your shows.
I do. I like to publish catalogs. books. I like to write on the artists with whom I have a long relationship. That's really important to me, that I put out into the world kind of my own thinking and description of working with this work and showing it and kind of practicing with it in my gallery spaces, in our spaces, because it does need a lot of art in general. It needs a lot of help, and the gallery space is one of those spaces to really be able to show it off and play with it. This was another. This was a whole room of her bronzes, small bronzes.
And this is fabulous.
Yeah. So now we're going backwards again to 2012, just to give a sense that that to show both my love of objects and of fashion, of design, of of it all. And this is an exhibition that Duro Olowu curated called Material, and then he curated another show called More Material. And it has, it just throws everything in and offers this really this space of total discovery and this kind of bazaar of objects. And so I like to kind of go from a very minimal aesthetic to this very maximal one and play back and forth between them.
I love the chairs, the stools.
Oh yes, the Kun and Caputo, those are great.
Yeah, it's such a complete package.
Yeah, it really is. And it's really his vision. If you go into his shop in London, oh my gosh, I haven't looked at these images in so long. Look at the Marie Pergay, and oh, it's so great what he included in this exhibition. So fabulous.
I'm really enjoying this. Thank you.
Me too. I haven't looked at these slides in a long time.
And is that
this was his second show?
Yeah, is that a Stanley Whitney?
It is. This is Stanley Whitney, and on the peeking out on the right. In fact, I think that's really a painting that encouraged me to ultimately live with a painting. I've been living with Marina Adams' work for a long time, and so I'm glad to have a painting of his. But again, all relates this painting. They relate back to that Matisse fantastic painting we looked at earlier.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's all related.
It is. But the diversity in the vision here, the diversity in terms of not only kind of ethnicity, sexuality, but of objects, of practices, from photography to painting to sculpture to to furniture to I mean it's there's no hierarchy, because everything in here you want to look at and you want to touch and hold, and it's just there's no hierarchies. And I think in the background there's this amazing feathered cape that he had made.
Wow.
Yep.
And the next one? Oh, this is
The Lynette, yes, that's a special picture. Yeah, and he really did play with these installations. He spent a long time kind of tweaking them, and I think that's what every curator and dealer loves to do. Is, you know, this is that we create tableaus, and it's very ceremonial in a certain way, and he's kind of very, very talented at doing it. Very brilliant.
And where's he from?
Duro is from Lugana in Africa.
Yep. Too much.
Oh, keeping on theme with our Nigeria, pardon me. Oduro's from Nigeria. So keeping on theme, this was an exhibition that we did with Calder Jewelry, and we asked several artists to make pedestals to house the jewelry. And you can keep going because it's hard to see in this picture. But you can see there's a Puma Baba cork sculpture wearing a crown, a Calder crown. There we go.
Wow. Fabulous.
Is that great? And then at the opening of that, we did a real kind of photo shoot and performance where with Michelle Lamy, who I still collaborate with quite a bit, and we allowed people to touch and to wear a piece and be photographed, have a Polaroid taken by Michelle. And then the other thing we did was we asked Magdalene Thomas to do a photo shoot with the Calder jewelry.
Brilliant.
This is from the photo shoot that Michelle Lamy did. Oh, this is another video. So when I bought the building, we decided before we renovated to bring all of Gaetano's studio, literally 8 trucks worth of his studio, to the gallery. And we recreated his Brooklyn studio in the gallery, and we called it Working Studio. And we had Gaetano in the gallery working every day with his whole studio, pouring and making the work, so people could actually see how they made these wonderful molds, and see how he made his furniture and objects and art. So it was a great way to open up our space and to show you could really see the gallery before any renovation. And so that was part of creating a community and building a community is having them a part of it, and to have them part of the gallery space. So a lot of people came in and still remember seeing the space as raw as it was. It was literally just after I started the demolition of the space, as you can see. And of course, Gaetano just came in and put one of his sculptures right on top of all of the trash. Our first exhibition after we renovated was with Nikki de Saint-Phal and Derek Adams. And it was a very joyous moment. It was during COVID. And so we decided that that we would build a kind of playground for children. And so we brought in these two amazing lions, which are now with the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi. And we had a timed system where people could sign up and bring their kids and actually climb on the sculptures. So I think if you go ahead, that picture is there, yeah, and you can. I don't know. Are people seeing that? I can't tell.
No.
How you can't. Phyllis, are you able to turn it on, or is somebody able to turn it on?
I can't.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my God, look at these little kids.
Every day we had people in there.
Oh my God.
It was so cute.
Fabulous.
It was really fun. I just happened to take this was a particular day where the kids were really adorable and very well dressed, because I think their mom is a dress designer or a designer of clothing. So I just happened to have caught it. They're so cute. Anyway, it was a wonderful, joyous way to open our gallery during COVID. So it was kind of the perfect show.
She's so fabulous.
Yes, she is. Joy Revolution. This Black Nana. This is a real flower power Nana. These are outdoor works as well. This is now with Crystal Bridges. And one of her first nanas, and it shows it's basically the celebration of a pregnant woman. I mean, honestly, to create this kind of iconic imagery is really something that's distinct to Nikki de Saint-Phal.
It's fabulous. Jeannie, would you like to take questions?
Sure.
Okay. We're going to open up to questions.
Thank you both so much for such a lovely conversation. We do have a few questions from the audience. The first one is from Emily B, and Emily B wants to know, what do you think is most important to look for? What do you think is most important to look for or think about when you're considering purchasing a work?
Well, first, if it moves you and if it challenges you. I think that art should challenge. It shouldn't be so easy, and something that you really want to live with, and that somehow has moved you. It's a very hard thing to define. I do encourage, though, to go out and actually buy something, because that first purchase allows you kind of the investment in. Once you put your money into it, you're kind of emotionally invested in a different way, and so to do that means that you are required to study a little bit more, to look a little bit more, to train your eye. Your eye is a muscle, and to train your eye constantly, daily. It's just a very satisfying thing, and often that happens more and more as you bring something into your own space. I hope that answered the question a little bit.
Totally.
Thank you for that answer, Jeannie. The next question is from an anonymous audience member who asked, when did you begin collecting ceramics. Was there a pivotal moment at which you began mixing the design and the ceramics? The current show with Kawata and the furniture designer is a great collaboration. Whose idea was it?
So, well, as I said, I started collecting ceramics when I was in high school, and then when I moved into my own home, I started to realize that I was not satisfied with the furniture that was out there, that I wanted to be engaged in it more, and I wanted to know what the contemporaries of the art that I was collecting, what they were making as well. I wanted it to kind of be a full 360, and the idea of the Max Lamb designing the tables on which the Takuro Kawatas are now displayed on is kind of, it's an idea that was hatched with our director, Fabienne Stefan, and with Kawata, with Takuro, with Max Lamb. These are very organic things when we're constantly thinking about pedestals at our gallery, and trying to kind of subvert the pedestal, or think about them in a different way, change them somehow. It's very hard to reinvent the wheel, but if we can change it somehow, that's great. So that was just a great idea. And Fabian called up Max and said, "What do you think? Would you make the tables for Takuro's upcoming show?" And that started the conversation, and we realized it. He realized it. He worked up until the very last minute of shipping as well. It almost killed him because he ended up making these tables with zinc, and not so easy to do. They're all handmade, and they're very special.
Thank you. And the next question is from GE, and GE asks, does collecting and appreciation of art extend generationally farther back than your father's initiatives? If not, what sparked this interest?
So my father grew up in a house that did not collect art. However, he grew up in a house with dioramas and with wallpaper and with collections of other types of things, not contemporary art at all, or not modern art, nothing post-war for sure. And he took a trip during the Berlin crisis to Paris, and he looked at galleries there and museums there, and kind of fell in love with art, and just got bit by the bug. So that's and then he also had a very close relationship with another art dealer from St. Louis, Joe Hellman, and together they both kind of simultaneous started to collect art, and also with my mother as well, and just changed their lives, really changed their lives. In fact, changed to the point where they moved houses. It just redefined their lifestyle from then on, early 70s.
Thank you. And then from another anonymous audience member, Jeanne, your career seemed to develop in the prime of post-war and contemporary art, and I have a hard time seeing a fruitful career in the art world moving forward, especially in the wake of the widening digital sphere of art. Do you have any advice for someone who did not inherit an art background but is deeply interested in art collecting and pursuing a career in art advising?
Well, I think that there's always room, and come see us, come talk to us. We really want to encourage people to be in this business, because it needs new ideas, especially right now in this new moment of the digital age, and also of uh, of AI, where we are actually seeing we're seeing a huge audience in our space, and we're seeing a lot of young people. If you go to museums, you'll see people are looking at art aggressively and enthusiastically. So of course there is room, and you just have to work every day at it. You have to, whichever way is you're in, do it all. Curate an exhibition, go to artist studios, read as much as you can, visit, train your eye, and start a dialogue with different dealers, and then get some internships and jobs. There's absolutely plenty of room in this industry.
Well said.
And then the last question is, was there ever a work of art that you really loved and then with more time and appreciation of it, changed your assessment of? How did you come to these changed views, if so?
I mean, yes. Yeah, I have there are works of art that I have fought with and struggled with through time, and different works of art that become more relevant to you as time passes, or become less relevant, for sure. Phyllis and I were just talking about the Kaya Boat show that is actually, I think it's coming here to Washington or Philadelphia. I just saw it in Paris, and at the Musée d'Orsay, and it is a show of an artist who I was never taught in graduate school, who was considered academic and a total, really not important at all. And all of a sudden there's this complete revisionist exhibition out there, and it's kind of a fascinating show about male sexuality, about class, about all these things that I had never really thought of. And also at our gallery, we're constantly challenging ourselves. I show Aboriginal work, and it frustrates me all the time. But and the more I learn, the more comfortable with the material I become. And absolutely, you have to be challenged by it.
Wow, that's well said.
I don't know, but yes, I feel as I can't wait to hear what you say about the Kaya Boat show.
Yeah, should we end there?
Yes, I think so.
Jeanne, thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Phyllis. Thank you. And thank you, Brooklyn Rail. And so there we go. But please come visit us at the gallery.
Thank you both so much. Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Jeanne. And thank you, Lacey from Salon 94 for supporting and preparing for today's event. We'd also like to thank the Terra Foundation for American Art for sponsoring our NSE program and making these daily conversations possible, and for their support of our growing archive, which you can view on the Rail's YouTube channel. The Rail has been free and independent for 24 years. A donation directly supports our writers, staff, and operations. Support our work through the link in the chat. And if you're free tomorrow, join us at a special time of 2 p.m. for a conversation with Taboo and Pamela Sneed on the event of Taboo's show of early works at Karma and Gordon Roby show. And now you can turn on your microphone and say hello and goodbye as you leave. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Jeanne and Phyllis.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Phyllis.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Jeanne.
Thank you, everybody.
All good. All good.
God, I saw Hunter.
You did. You saw Hunter. How's it going? Well done, Phyllis. Another good one.
Yeah. Well, Jeanne is Jeanne is a great dealer.
I want to be at all, I want to see all those shows. I want to go back in time machine to see all those shows, especially the Calder jewelry on those artists' sculptures.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hunter, you can look them up. They're on our website. And I see my dad was on the call too. Wow, he figured out the technology.
Fantastic. Well done, both of you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.